Trump was told by his advisors that we don't have a response to asymmetrical warfare. Soleimani was linked to asymmetrical warfare, and Trump is in his simplistic mind thought that if he could kill Soleimani, we could somehow overcome Iran's asymmetrical warfare. That's not true. The Quds Force, like any other good military organization, is like a bucket of water with your fist in it. When you pull your fist out, what size hole do you leave? None. Soleimani's death, as tragic as it is, isn't going to stop the Quds Force one bit. These guys are resilient. They're a military organization. Soleimani's had decades to train his lieutenants. The people who have taken over are fully prepared to do this mission, and they will do it with a vengeance. We haven't stopped anything. If anything, we've redoubled their determination to prevail in any future conflict with the United States. And I believe that this conflict won't be what people are thinking. Everybody's saying, well, is there going to be a big missile attack? Are they going to? No. Iran, with Qasem Soleimani in charge, always advocated against the stand-up fight with America, because they know that once you go down that path, they're going to get hit with 500 cruise missiles a night for 3 weeks straight, that their infrastructure is going to be devastated. And while the United States may not win, Iran's going to lose because everything they've fought to build over the last 20 years is going to be destroyed. That's the last result Iran wants. They want America out of the Middle East. And thanks to the United States assassinating Soleimani, America's about to be ordered out of Iraq by the Iraqi parliament. And I believe the Iranians are preparing for the eventuality where America tells Iraq to pound sand. They say, we're not leaving. But at that point in time, every American in Iraq becomes free game, not for the Iranians, but for the Iraqis, whom the Iranians are going to be supporting. And that's how Iran's going to launch their decisive blow against the United States. The Iranians are strategic thinkers. They're not fools. They're not impetuous. These are people who know where they want to go and how they want to get there, and they're not going to let a foolish act by Donald Trump disrupt their plans. Both those administrations had Iranian experts who actually interfaced with Iran and understood one of the greatest realities that's missed in this entire discussion, that the single most powerful proponent for peace in the Middle East, for nonviolent resolution of disputes with the United States, was Qasem Soleimani. This is the man that whispered in the ear of the Iranian leadership every time they were confronted by the hardliners who said, we need to be more violent, we need to be more proactive. Qasem Soleimani is the man who said, we need to be patient. There's other ways to do this. He was the master of the other way. And that became a reality when Trump pulled out of the nuclear deal, thought he was engaged in an economic war, and found out he was actually fighting an asymmetrical war that the United States wasn't prepared to wage. We're in a situation now where the United States doesn't know what it wants to accomplish. Iran does. Iran knows exactly what it wants to accomplish, and it wants to get the United States out of Iraq. That's their goal, that's their objective, and the Iranians are mature enough as a nation, as a government, not to allow themselves to be distracted by this horrific event. There's going to be 3 days of mourning. Qasem Soleimani is going to become a martyr that's going to unify Iran and unify the Shia of Iraq and bring them together. To what end? To remove the United States from Iraq. That's what's going to happen. Now, how the United States reacts to this reality is different. The United States, some things have happened recently that we didn't talk about. Do you remember the massive anti-Iranian demonstrations in Baghdad? Do you honestly think those were spontaneous expressions of emotion, a legitimate emotion from the Iraqi people? Or do you think for a second that maybe the United States, over the course of nearly 2 decades, has seeded enough money and influence that we can generate that kind of response and egg it on? It failed. It failed to move the barometer. Yeah, there was a lot of social media pictures, a lot of violence, a lot of people died, but at the end of the day, it didn't change the reality that Iran dominates Iraq. We did the same thing. The gasoline revolt in Iran, street demonstrations. Well, the Iranians just shut down the internet. As a result, all that carefully planned social media activism didn't happen. And where is it today? Gone. Lebanon, WhatsApp. People get up in the street. You can't tax our internet app. The United States moves in, brings in its money, starts paying people off. Trump has been sold a bill of goods by his advisors who are telling him that there exists in the Middle East today a strong bastion of pro-American sentiment that can be tapped into. There is no pro-American sentiment in the Middle East today. There are people who accept the American reality and accept the American dollar and use America as a bulwark of defense. But there's not a single Middle East nation today that views the United States as a force of stability. And as the United States power diminishes, people are going to start to break away. You know, we talk about Saudi Arabia. There's something else going on besides Aramco. It's a little problem called Yemen and the Houthi. You know, it doesn't take Iran to turn the Houthi into an effective fighting force. They were an effective fighting force, you know, before they got this close relationship with the Iranians. The Houthi are winning the ground war. As we speak today, Houthi troops are occupying Saudi territory. And if they consolidate their position, they can advance and take more territory. There's a good chance Saudi Arabia may lose its southern provinces, which historically belonged to Yemen to begin with. This is what the Saudis are worried about, because if you start peeling off those provinces, then the Shia provinces and the eastern provinces will start getting the unrest, and that's the end of the Saudi nation. That's their true fear. They're very worried about this. And one of the things that could trigger that is if Iran shuts down Saudi oil production, because without oil, Saudi Arabia is nothing, literally nothing. A bunch of pathetic Wahhabists who bought off a pathetic family of Bedouins who have brought nothing positive to either their country or the world. They'll go away. They're very nervous. That's why they're sort of silent. The Iraqis, when they tell the United States to leave and the United States says no, what's going to happen? Is the Iraqi military going to rise up and move? No. But what they are going to do is move away from the Americans, isolate the Americans. Now the Americans are going to be sitting ducks for the various militias that are going to be controlled by Iran. And the question is, how does the United States react to that? It's imperative that Iran doesn't do something foolish and create an Alamo. We have 150 Marines fight to the death, overrun and massacred. Because there's no better way to mobilize the American sentiment for a long-lasting bloody war against Iran than to do that. But if you pick us off one by one, 5 at a time, 10 at a time, and make it appear that we're impotent, that we can't respond, the American people get tired of that really quick. And then the political pressure is going to come on to withdraw. Can Trump handle that? Or is he going to be tempted to blame Iran and take it out on Iran and attack Iran? These are the unknowns. As I said, we opened up a Pandora's box. We don't know how this is going to end. This could end, you know, it's going to end badly no matter what for the United States. We're out of the region. We've lost the Middle East. The question is how long it's going to take for us to realize that and what price we're going to pay and what price we're going to make others pay before that happens.